here is Chris Sununu, our governor, our new governor, and we're just delighted that he is stopping by this morning just to talk to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys accommodating. We have a very busy day on a variety of different levels, so don't let me hold you up from getting your breakfast, but I didn't want to come in and not be able to at least acknowledge a few things and be able to say a few words. It's exciting. It's exciting to see so many folks out here. This is a critical issue. It's something we've been talking about for quite a long time, not just in the campaign, but in the State House, understanding our priorities. And again, I apologize. Valerie does not come out to a whole lot of political stuff with me. Not that this is really political, but this was something, this was really one of the first events that she wanted to make sure she got on the schedule. And unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate. So we were going back and forth, but with the delayed opening of school today, it made for kind of a hectic time at home. So we couldn't quite get out the door as well. So unfortunately, she could not make it. It's been an exciting early month. I mean, it's only been 45 days. It feels like 45 years in the State House. Something tells me it's always like that. But it's been an exciting time. I've had the opportunity to really get to know a lot of folks, have a lot of folks come into the office, sit down, discuss things. It goes without saying we've been very busy on the budget. The budget is critical. It really drives a lot of what our priorities are going to be, where we're going to focus our efforts. We are always fiscally frugal for the most part, but we really need to make sure that, again, the dollars coming in are equal the dollars going out. We put together a great team, understood where we were. I think where we actually are financially is a little bit of a different picture than I think we were led to believe, but that's okay. We went around, and the most important thing that I think we've put forward is making sure that everything is transparent. Everything is on the table. It is when we talk about a true budget, it really is a true budget. We're not kicking the can down the road on liabilities of today. Okay, we'll take care of that in a couple years. If we owe something today, we pay it today. If we have one-time income coming in today, that goes to one-time spending today, not creating. It sounds nice to create long-term programs, but one-time income is one-time income, right? So the hardest part, I think, is really with the politics of it. Because you always, I'm a politician. That goes without saying. Sometimes you want to defer to, well, what's politically best, right? What's most politically advantageous? And the tone that we're really trying to set in Concord is a new one, in that everyone is invited to the table. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, the ultra-right wing to the ultra-left wing. Everyone has good ideas, so everyone has to have a seat at that table. But understand that when we put those ideas on the table, at that moment, the politics leave the room. And then it is simply about priorities. And I'm a big believer that no matter how tight your budget needs to be, we have a little bit of opportunity here financially, which is nice, but no matter how tight it needs to be, when you put your priorities on the table, you agree with what they need to be, and you drive forward, you can really do some amazing things. So we know that when we talk about the future, I was here maybe a couple months ago, just before the election, or maybe it was just after, I can't even remember, it's all a whirlwind. And we talked, and I tried to emphasize then, as well as what I did last week in our budget address, we have to start thinking long term. Right? We're stuck in this cycle of thinking about every 2 years at the State House. We have to think 5 and 10 and 20 years down the road. And in doing that, we have to make sure whatever we're investing our dollars on, whatever programs we're investing in, whatever projects or infrastructure, whatever it might be, we have to be doing it for the long term and making sure it's lasting. And that's the future. And it sounds so cliche, but people, well, why are you running for governor? Why, what are your focuses as governor? It's about the kids. It really is. It's simply about the kids. And I really believe we have to keep emphasizing that, right? We don't just assume that that's a given when you're talking to folks, whether it's elected officials or folks in your community. We have to keep repeating that. What are we doing about 10 years down the road? And I'm a dad, right? I have a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 4-year-old. God bless it. It is crazy in our house, but it's fun. It's good. And there are so many things that when we talk about, my wife is a special ed teacher. She got her master's at Harvard. She specializes in early childhood education, early childhood development. Everything I know in this world, I learned from her. I mean, and it's fascinating. There's not a week goes by where she's not bringing she's a bookworm. She reads everything she can get her hands on having to do with early childhood development. So we're constantly talking about what can be done, what studies are out there, what myths have been disproved, or whatever it might be. So she's been an absolute great resource for me. So when you put all that together, and now you add in, we're going to go through the budget. For those of you, I didn't mean to, hopefully, for those of you who watched the budget, it wasn't too boring. It was a snow day, though, so there wasn't much else to do, I guess. But this is where we come out on some of the priorities. And I think we've done some things, I'm proud to say, that no other governor has done before in the past. Proposed some programs that no one else has done, and I think we have a real opportunity to get these things done. Right? They're not just words on a page that, well, if the House takes them out, the House takes them out. Or if the Senate cuts this out, the Senate cuts that out. No, we're going to fight for these things, right? We're going to fight for these things. So first and foremost, I think a lot of people know, for the first time ever, we've proposed full-day kindergarten in this state. And let me just say something. That applause that I just heard needs to be heard and conquered. I think there are folks, and we're going to get it done, but I think there are folks that don't understand the amount of public interest in getting this done, right? The four walls of the State House need to hear the huge support that this program has now and is going to continue to have. And we've tried to make sure we've taken it a step further. We've made it very targeted, right? What I believe is that where you can have the most benefit with kindergarten is in some of those lower income communities. Communities where English as a second language is more prevalent. Communities where you have a higher propensity of free and reduced lunch. These are the areas that have been shown where kindergarten can make the most impact. And by throwing $18 million at it, that's no small sum. I think we can make some great inroads there. It's gonna take some working on some folks, without a doubt, but we're serious about it, and it really stands as one of the cornerstones of what we talk about with early childhood education and the future. I'm a big proponent of school choice. I'm a big proponent of charter schools. I'm a big proponent of homeschooling. So we put an additional $15 million into our charter schools. It does not mean we're taking money out of the rest of the public school system. Right? Charter schools, are part of the public school system, but there is so much uncertainty that we have unfortunately given to the teachers, the parents, the administrators of these systems that bear a lot of costs. The public schools bear a lot of costs, as do the charter schools. They work financially very differently. We have to appreciate that. But we have some great outcomes coming out of our charter schools, and I want to see making sure that we put the financial emphasis there, again, to reduce some of those financial uncertainties so they can focus on the outcomes. Post-secondary, I'm also a big believer in, again, providing clear pathways to our workforce. So when we talk about early childhood education, it really isn't just about getting them reading, up to third grade and, learn to read and then read to learn and what happens in the fourth and fifth grade. And then eventually we get to the junior and senior year and then we'll start talking about career pathways and workforce. No, that starts way ahead. We have to think much more progressively. I wanted to start career pathways and workforce type programs in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Computer programming for those kids. Early nursing programs for some of those kids. Early agriculture programs for some of those kids. Get them excited, right? Why can't we start programs where we allow students to test out of subjects they are proficient in so they can spend more time on areas where they want to excel in, where they want to focus their skill set on, right? That makes school itself more exciting. That makes them want to go to school. They want to go to those classes. And that requires investment and focus in our career schools. We've proposed 2 major capital projects in our state, rebuilding the career school over in Rochester, rebuilding the career school, I believe, up in Plymouth, which are great opportunities. We're putting more money operationally into our community college system. We have to start thinking about post-secondary education, not about the institutions. University system gets this, community college gets this, these guys get... That is siloed thinking. That is antiquated thinking. It is all simply about the outcomes. And outcomes are about options and pathways we provide to these students, again, at that early age. And it can start at 9th, 10th, and 11th, 12th grade. But then my program says when you graduate, right, I'd love a scholarship program. As we know, post-secondary education can be quite expensive, especially in New Hampshire. And I don't want to create a scholarship program that helps 20 kids or 50 kids or just directs kids to one institution or another. My program puts $5 million on the table for a minimum of 1,000 students primarily need-based, and says you can use that $5,000 to do whatever you want. Go to the community college, go to a professional school, go to the university system, whatever it might be. Here's $5,000 to jumpstart your career pathway any way that you want, right? We have to understand that, again, freedom and choice and pathways, that is the way of the future. So this is just a jumping off point. I still think there's a lot more we can do there. But again, providing that kind of flexibility within those post-secondary systems, I think is going to, again, yield the highest and best outcome for us. We also put some money, we created, for the first time, a $5 million workforce initiative. And what that really is, when we talk about nursing especially, or clinicians, folks working in our substance abuse programs, we are losing these workers, right? I use the term, and you're going to keep hearing me say it, markets matter. What do I mean when I say markets matter? The market is dictating that if a nurse can make $25 an hour in Boston, why would they take a job at $17 an hour in New Hampshire, right? And the numbers aren't even that high, frankly. It's more like $18 in Boston, and we're paying them $11 in New Hampshire. It's unbelievable. Our toll collectors make more money than nursing assistants. You can make a better salary working as a retail cashier at Hobby Lobby, nothing against Hobby Lobby, than you can working in elderly care. So obviously, we're going to have a healthcare crisis here, and it starts with our workforce. So the $5 million we've put in specifically addresses those disparities in wage, right? So let's start paying people what they should be paid, understand the dynamics of where we're going. When we talk about the future, we have a more elderly population today. It is going to keep becoming more elderly. It's not a negative, but it is a dynamic we must address. And we have to be honest with ourselves about what the pushes and pulls of that system are, what the difficulties and challenges we're going to face. I think it's with the workforce, and create incentives to start keeping some of those workers here. Also, the last piece is we have a debt reduction program. So again, if you stay and work in some of those areas and you've gone to a New Hampshire school, and you're part of one of the New Hampshire schools within our system, and you stay and work in New Hampshire, we'll help pay down your student debt. Right? So you got to work them on the front end a little bit, give them the incentive to take some of these programs with the scholarship program we've created on the front end. We have debt assistance on the back end. And again, between those two things, I think we can start rebuilding this workforce problem. It's really the driver of our economy when you think about it. We have all this untapped potential with our business community. And we can do everything we want to drive business in here. And trust me, there are businesses lining up at the door to come in here. But we have to make sure we do have the workforce for them. The last thing I want to talk about is something I didn't talk about in the budget, but is first and foremost in a lot of our minds, is the substance abuse crisis, right? The substance abuse crisis isn't just affecting, again, that's something that goes all the way from, as old as you can be. We have heroin addicts at 90 plus years old in this state. I met a gentleman, 91, he's addicted to pills. And he's working hard, he's trying to get off it, but God bless him, he was 91 years old. And then we have kids at 12, 13 years old that have the same issues. Do you know we don't have a single facility in this state to take care of adolescents with substance abuse issues? We do not have a single adolescent treatment center and recovery center in this state. Yet we have the biggest substance abuse crisis in the country. That's a problem. That's a problem. So what we're proposing is a redesign of the Sununu Center, as it's coincidentally called, which I think is a great center, offers great programming there for some of our most troubled youth, to be sure, but it's very underutilized right now. So let's take that excess capacity and transform it into something that can really address one of our most critical needs, right? And it's right there, right in the heart of Manchester. So we're going to be proposing in the next couple weeks a plan to really look at how we can reutilize those facilities for treatment and substance abuse, mental illness, for some of our adolescents, and again, get these kids some of these services they need. If we can help provide that programming, again, for what I call the troubled youth of today, they don't become dangerous adults of tomorrow. Let's start thinking long term. If you're in this room, you get it. You believe in it. I believe in it. I hope you understand this is a passion of mine. It's exactly why I wanted to become governor, not because I'm worried about the next 2 years and the next election cycle, but I'm worried about my kids, and I'm worried about your kids, and we share that passion. But we have to keep talking within our local communities, at the State House, your elected representatives, Republicans, Democrats. Take nothing for granted and don't stop talking about it. Make the wave, the reality of this wave, the reality of the importance of what we're talking about today, make it heard throughout the State House. And if we do that, I think we can really get a lot done. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to come up and speak. I really appreciate it.